All right, well, thanks for coming out. It's exciting to be here. Another Monday, still playing football with an opportunity to move forward into the quarterfinals. You know, a game on Saturday that, certainly wasn't perfect, but we put together a defensive effort that, obviously put us in a position to win a football game. I think we definitely did some things offensively to make plays and to get some points on the board and really move the ball. We just didn't probably score as much as we would have liked. And then special teams wise, I think no question we had an edge there. So you put those three things together this time of year, you're going to have a really good chance to win football games. And it gives us an opportunity now to move forward and play the defending champs, the top seed. They've won, I think, 21 straight this season, or 21 straight this calendar year on top of a victory. So I think they're 22 straight right now. And an awesome opportunity for us to take on the top dogs in the tournament right now, and our guys are really excited about that, but a very tough opponent, very tough challenge. One other thing I wanted to do is just thank our fans for helping the community of Denton, Montana, that suffered greatly last week. I know great support with items brought to the stadium. In particular, I think the athletic department right now is shifting more to monetary donations, which can be made through Opportunity Bank, and all that information can be found on our website. But thank you very much to all our fans supporting one of our communities that suffered greatly, and we certainly as a football program want to support them in any way we can. So with that, I'll open it up.
Potentially being the last home game too, is that something you guys have thought about, or are you still thinking, hey, we got a good shot at it?
Well, we're 1 week at a time, one game at a time. Whatever could be on the other side of that is just that. We know that this week the road takes us to Huntsville, Texas, and Sam Houston, and thankful for that opportunity. And like I said, a really, really good program. They just haven't come onto the scene. They've been challenging for championships for quite some time. Obviously broke through this past spring, and Coach Keeler, both with his success at the FCS level at Sam Houston and Delaware, is a proven winner for sure. So a big task in front of us.
And I think they're one of the best run defenses and one of at least most yards given up passing wise. Do you know kind of why that is?
Yeah. There's certainly they have stopped the run very well. I think it's a combination that they're built to stop the run. You could see a shift in maybe their focus the last couple years. I know their exits from the playoffs going back a few years were pretty wide margins. I know a couple times to North Dakota State and once to James Madison, and it's apparent that they built up their team on both sides of the football, and that was a big part of being able to beat South Dakota State, North Dakota State, James Madison in the spring, their ability to stop the run. And I think within the context of the regular season and even into the playoffs, I think part of it is the makeup of that league and their opponents, maybe being more built to throw. Certainly their offense getting ahead in making the other team, more apt to throw and chase points. I think it's a little bit of that, but they're certainly their front is built to stop the run for sure.
Could you imagine playing back-to-back like that deep playoff run, obviously getting to the title game in the spring and then having to make another playoff run like that?
Well, they're the one team that was happy about the result in the spring. I know that. To come out on top, I think it was certainly worth it for them. But yeah, to be into December now and you're going on game 22, in 11 months or less than 11 months. I think that's quite a feat. I think the margin of their, a lot of their games this year has maybe allowed them to get guys out and spread that, the health out a little bit. But yeah, I think it's certainly, I'm sure, been challenging to them. But like I said, I think they were the ones that came out of that spring with the result they wanted. So, I'm certain they're hungry to get back, to that same place, and to do it in such a short time is maybe in some ways, an easier thought even. So.
What stands out to you about their offense?
Well, a lot of weapons. I think first off, they're a team that can beat you on the ground. They can beat you through the air. It certainly starts with their quarterback. His stats don't jump crazy off the page, but that's probably because he hasn't had to finish a lot of games. But as a passer, I think he's over 250 yards, 26 touchdowns, and then he's a very athletic guy that can extend plays and can run the football as well. Running back, they're good. They got a couple guys that have an ample amount of carries, and then receiver-wise, I think they have 3 guys that are all in their own way, dangerous. And so, they don't choose to do it one way or the other. I think they can go about it, but I know they want to run the football and they want to stop the run just as their ingredients to win. So, I think for us, we got to do everything we can to slow that run down and make it hard for them to throw it. I think that's been our formula all year, and it'll have to be against them.
In the spring and in the fall, would you have kind of foreseen or had imagined that Tommy would be this far along?
I would say not in the spring. I think as the fall, and fall camp into August or through August into September, was unfolding. I think you could start seeing some signs. I think his playmaking ability with his legs was certainly something we saw in the spring. But then it was his development, throwing the football, that would continue to come along. And I think as an offense, through the fall, you start seeing, okay, our ability to run at quarterback is a key component to what we're looking for. And obviously we were putting him in there from time to time to give us that. And ultimately it came down to a decision where let's get him out there all the time so that threat's always out there, and then couple that with how he's come along as a thrower.
And you did a lot of rollouts and then kind of getting him on the move. I mean, it seems like fair to say you're pretty comfortable in those.
Yeah, and I think in one game that was one way to go about things. But he's capable of, I think, handling our passing game, handling our protections. So it's not like it's this kid that, and I've had it a couple times where you're taking a guy from the scout team that doesn't really understand the depth of your passing game, the protection side of it. That's not what holding them back. It's just how we chose to play within one game, and then also the conditions. Saturday made it really difficult to feel like you could throw the ball downfield very effectively, and so shortening those throws and all that was part of what we were trying to do.
I think you said during fall camp that you said you heard from someone from Butte that there would be concern he wouldn't play as much because he was a 4th-string quarterback.
It was back to May when I went and did the quarterback club visit out there. I kind of said where he was at the depth chart, and someone said, "So you mean Tommy? Well, that's not going to play." And a good.
Have people been pretty happy?
Yeah, that's for sure. I think they're proud of Tommy, obviously, and know the player he is, and I think he's made an impact, in a lot of different ways through the course of the fall, and getting an opportunity to be out there as the full-time quarterback there was work to get to that point for him, and that's what I appreciate about him. A lot of guys kind of caught between, getting reps, first or second team, and the scout team. He wasn't getting either really, but he was out there doing all kinds of things, running routes, running his few quarterback plays maybe every week, certainly doing the special team side of things. But he was taking the individual fundamental aspect of practice and continuing to hone his skills, and that doesn't always happen. I mean, that just kind of shows what type of young man he is as far as his willingness to want to get better, willingness to do whatever it takes for the team. And then I think he understood that, for him ultimately to be our quarterback at whatever point in time it was about, not letting up at all.
Getting to watch the film, is there anything else that stood out to you about his game? It seemed there was a little bit more passing over the middle, I guess.
Yeah, I think that was his first opportunity to play with any continuity, I guess, from just knowing he was going to be out there. And I thought initially things were maybe he was pretty amped up, I guess. So things were probably happening a little faster than he or we would have liked. But the good thing was I think he settled in. His willingness to, I guess, see the field and throw, where it needs to go is there. I think he's got solid arm strength. It's not like, he can't put the ball where it needs to be put. It was a challenging day to probably highlight that. But no, I think he settled in well, and I think he at the same time, we'll look at that film and say, boy, there's a lot of things I could have done better. But I think also recognize that he just needs to go out there and play. I think that that kind of happened somewhere, maybe even the second quarter, where I think he just settled down and it started happening a little more naturally for him.
His nickname is gaining some popularity, Touchdown Tommy, and I know that Troy's come in here and has made comment to at one point. Do teammates call him that? Like, what does he think about that from your perspective?
Well, I do think, he certainly has the respect of his teammates. And that's because of how he's went about his business. Certainly the fact that he has, he's scored a bunch of touchdowns, I think is part of the appeal. But I think it's more just about who he is and how he works. And I know that, the rest of his teammates, certainly Troy included, would say, I'll go to war with that guy any day. Just, again, about how he's just handled this whole fall and who he was as a true freshman, just as a worker. I think that's the impression he was only able really to make as a freshman, was just how you work, because there wasn't really anywhere to measure it. I mean, a few practices in the fall, but it was more about, hey, we're in the weight room, we're in the South Dome. Ultimately, we're over in this building. Just how hard he works, I think, is what's spilled over. And it's neat. I think he's pretty unassuming, but I think when you have the support of your teammates, that certainly makes you feel better about going out and doing your job.
And Colton asked about offense for Sam Houston. What about the defense? What stands out to you?
Well, big, athletic, fast. I think anytime I think they're giving up like 71 yards rushing. You've made that a priority. They have really good size, but those guys can really move. They throw different looks at you, but at the end of it, they're really just playing sound, fundamental defense while playing really fast. And I think they've complemented their offense really well. And you look at their spread scoring wise in the first half, it's ridiculous. And so they've followed up good offense with good defense, or vice versa. Pretty consistently all year. So. We'll have our hands full just with their front seven. They do have a couple guys that can get after it pass rush wise quite a bit as well. So, where they would stack up as far as best defenses we've seen, I know whether they would be the best. I'm not sure. I think we've seen some pretty good defenses, but they would be right up there.
How's Chase doing right now?
I think Chase is pretty typical Monday soreness. He's you get to that sixth year and you play in a really physical spot. There's an accumulation that comes into play, and he played really well on Saturday. And when he walked off the field, was certainly beat up, but we'll get him back going this week. And I mentioned that last week he was pretty healthy while I was coming off a bye. I mean, I'm pretty healthy this time of the week. So it's typically been a process every week to kind of get him back and up and running. But Trustee's going to do everything he can to be out there and going on Saturday.
And TJ, is he still out?
Yes, making progress. So that was for a big guy to suffer the type of blow that he did. Was fairly significant. So it was a deal that we felt like was going to take him into a pretty good chunk of December, and we're in December. He's making progress, but he won't be available this week.
And then Elijah didn't seem like he played. I think maybe he was on kickoff once.
Yeah, I think there's been that back and forth a little bit since Lane's been back healthy. When Lane was out for that extended period of time, Elijah was getting all those second-team reps at running back. I think it's a little bit more of a compliment to Lane than it is this knock on Elijah. I think they're different running backs, and if what the game plan and the scheme calls for, if it's one guy's style or the other, that's kind of what we've been rolling with. And Lane was able to make a couple real good runs, and I think he had 4 carries for 30 yards. So no, it wasn't anything Elijah did. It was health, anything like that. It's just the way the game plan kind of rolled out.
With the late start time, did you adjust your practice schedule at all this weekend?
No, we're set up, and I think our guys, appreciate, even though the mornings are pretty crisp here, and they certainly was this morning to go in the mornings. We have the 2 night games under our belt, Gold Rush and then the Weber State game. I think the biggest difference is how you handle game day, and having gone through a later start on the road once, I think will help us. It won't be a foreign deal. I think, you take and play whatever time they ask you to play, and we could play at 4:30 and be dark, or practice at 4:30 and be dark here. But, no, I think we got enough behind us as far as experience, and just sticking to our guys. This is our last week of classes too, so the trade-off and trying to rob from their normal routine, I guess, would not benefit us, I don't think.
How did you kind of react when Zach and Justice, when they kind of got hit on those offsides and they did their whole?
I didn't really notice it in the game. You're just trying to move on and think about the next call. But I think they just wanted to make sure everybody in the park saw that they were clearly offside. So, I think that group, it's a grind in there. It's hard work. And for them to have a little bit of fun with it, I think was okay.
And the Idaho game obviously had injuries and was closer than you wanted, and then obviously Cat Grizz, and then the whole drama of this last couple of weeks. Did it feel kind of like the first fun week or fun game in a while for you guys?
Oh, I don't know. I think if you're approaching it that way, the results certainly of the previous game was not fun. But I think our lead up and all that, I think our team enjoys being around each other. I think they want to make this team. Or allow this team to last as long as it can. So certainly the result and our opportunity to continue to move forward was fun. But I think this is a group that really enjoys being around one another, enjoys the process each week. I think enjoys getting back up on a Monday morning, coming in this room and hearing about the week ahead. So we'll go about our business this week and prepare as hard as we can, and hopefully have that opportunity to meet again next Monday.
I know you've applauded Lance McCutcheon for his leadership. Just how important has his presence been, for the last couple of weeks for all you've been through?
Well, I think one thing I appreciate about Lance is, he waited his turn, so to speak. He hadn't gotten his opportunity to touch the football, till this year in his career. He burst on the scene, so to speak, as far as the opportunity he was given. And then the last couple of weeks, that hasn't necessarily happened. But you haven't seen a change in the way Lance has, approached it, in the way he's competed. I told him before the game, he said, this is this windy game. I don't know how this is going to go for you as far as opportunities. Tommy's probably going to make a mistake or two, but you got to be one of the first ones to pick him up and pat him on the back and all that. And I think Lance has grown so much as just that, a leader, like you said. And I think a lot of it is about how hard he's worked and been patient and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's really shown the last couple of weeks as maybe his opportunities haven't been the same. You haven't seen a change in how he's done things.
And how has he worked with Tommy? You kind of mentioned he asked him to kind of make sure he keeps his spirits up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think he understood that wholeheartedly, and he wants to win, and he knows we're moving forward, and he recognizes Tommy has all the capability in the world to give him the football, and is young at the same time. So no, he was really good with him, and I'm anxious to we hopefully get those two connected a little bit more this weekend. I think they're more than capable of doing that, and I know we were fingertips one time down the sideline, and then obviously another one that got knocked down pretty significantly by the wind, and those are really the two down the field throws that we made, and we hope to get Lance some more opportunities this week for sure.
Does anything change with Tommy at quarterback at all?
I don't think so. I think the the results on game days haven't shown with those two connecting downfield, but I believe they're more than capable of doing so. And, I think Tommy would still look to say, hey, if I got a bunch of matchups and everything's equal, I'm going after 86. I think he would look the same, and think about it the same way.
Coach, what's the atmosphere like at their stadium? Do you happen to know?
Oh, been there once. That goes all the way back to 2009 regular season. I know the setting. There's a track. The fans are a little further away. I suppose in some ways, comparable to Weber as far as the size and scope with the track and everything. I know they didn't have a great crowd there last week. I'd anticipate that would be, a little bit more. I certainly, it sounds like we're going to have a good presence of our fans, parents, and everything down there. I know there's a lot of alumni in that area down in Texas, so, hopefully we can balance them out. Certainly warmer temperatures down there in Texas this time of year, so, we'll take that for what it's worth. But no, it'll be another great opportunity to go on the road, hostile environment and see what we can do.
With Justice, what has stood out to you about his development this season?
Boy, that's a great question, because I think back to him in the spring and how far I maybe just for no good reason thought he was away, and showed some athleticism and all those types of things. And, he really took spring to heart and where he was and worked really hard this summer, and then was given that opportunity to, take that spot and run with it, and really has done that. And to me, has been very consistent all year. He's still giving up size and will, throughout his career. But I think he's gotten more and more comfortable with how to go about all the nuances. At center, you obviously got to snap the ball first. So then that's a challenge. And where are they putting that defender on? Are they putting you head up? They putting you in the gap? They putting you maybe on the guard? Or are you going back to a guy that's outside the guard? I mean, so it's a lot that goes into playing that position. But he's handled the ins and outs, making the line calls, snapping the ball so effectively, the things that become second nature as a guy moves on in his career. I mean, he's handled those things like a vet, and he's been able to, play a really effective football season.
What is his demeanor like around the team and his teammates?
I think Justice is a fun guy, if that's the way to his demeanor, but he's a serious guy too. He's a competitor. I think he's got a good blend of, he's a guy that I think his teammates really enjoy being around, but also, he's not the class clown, I guess. I mean, it's a fine line between being a guy that people enjoy being around and a guy that's just, people don't take seriously, I guess. And I would say he's that type of guy that people enjoy being around, but they understand that he's serious about competing and doing everything he can for this program.
Who is the class clown?
I don't know that we have one. That's a good thing. I think we have a bunch of guys that really enjoy being around each other, but when it comes down to working and going about their business, they do it the right way. You have a class clown or a bunch of class clowns, that's not a good thing.
Coulter, do you have anything?
Yeah, hey, Coach, just a couple for you. First of all, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys played Sam Houston in the national championship game at North Dakota State a couple times in a row. Is that right?
Yes, 11 and 12.
Okay, so, obviously that's a long time ago, 10 years ago. So, but how much different do they look, or how much similar do they look? I guess, is there sort of like any patterns in terms of the type of players they can attract? I know it's a new coaching staff and all that. So, just compare and contrast.
Yeah.
10 years ago and now what you see on film.
I think that's, I think schematically offense, they're quite a bit different. They were more of an option outfit back then. Defensively, I think both years that we played them, you felt like they had some guys that were strong. They had good size, but more so than anything, they were fast. They were fast all over the place. And you see a lot of those same comparisons. Again, schematically, I think there's some difference defensively, but they're back up to that point. I thought they had good defenses in 11 and 12. Both those years we played them, and they had a bunch of skill on offense. They went about their tactics different, but they're able to attract from a pretty close proximity a really good caliber of athlete, and that's not just skill. It's skill. It's big guys that can move. They don't have to go too far. I think what's Houston, the fourth biggest metro area in the country, and they're just north of Houston, and then they can go up into East Texas, which in all those smaller towns, football is king, and they can probably jump in their car and do much of their recruiting and be done with it. I know they're not exclusive to Texas, but a good chunk of their guys are probably pretty dang close to home.
Well, it seemed like talking to your guys on Saturday, they expressed that they really like this challenge. They're embracing this challenge of playing the top-ranked team. So what do you think of just that element of it? I mean, like Kyle Cotton said, you got to beat the best to be the best. So you must love the confidence you guys have going to Huntsville. Yeah,
I think you get to the Final Eight, and everybody's worthy at this point. And I think the fact that we fell to the 8th seed, and they obviously secured the one. This matchup was a game away. I'm thankful we're in it, first off. But, whether you play the best in the quarters, the semis, the finals, sometimes is debatable. I think back to, the 3 championship runs that we had at NDSU. We beat Sam Houston twice in the finals, and I'd say one of those years they were probably the best team we played, but maybe the other they weren't. We played a couple of Georgia Southern teams at home that could have been the toughest task. So wherever it comes, you got to face it head on, and all 8 teams are worthy of being in this position, and we're excited to go down there, and we're just I think excited to move on. I think that's the biggest thing, and I think our guys are confident that we can match up with anybody if we play well, and we got to get ourselves positioned to play well. I think that's, I think our guys have taken that approach each week, and, we got to do it again this week for sure.
Well, this time of year, obviously, I know it's always important, but the fronts are always so important when it comes down to December football. But you guys have such good fronts, particularly on defense. So what do you think of this maybe I don't know if upper hand's the right word, but what do you just think of those guys' ability to sort of carry the day for the defense and then just the performance they've had at this point?
Yeah, the success of our defense starts up front. There's no question about that, and our ability to do things without pressuring. We will pressure a fair amount, but to do things without pressuring has really been our hallmark this year. And whether that's been stopping the run, disrupting the run, or getting after the passer, disrupting the passer. And the fact that we've really played 10 guys pretty consistently, I think, is a big part of that. Our 3 seniors get a lot of the acclaim, Daniel and Amandre and Chase. But those other 7 guys have found their role, and in each game, one or more of them has stepped up and made a big play. And that was, thinking back to where we were in the spring and how that looked with a lot of those guys not being ready, we were crossing our fingers so we could get to that point, knowing that ideally, it was going to take a big group. It was no way going to be done with just 4 guys. So, and our linebackers, Troy and Callahan have played the bulk of the reps lately. And I'd take those 2 against any set of linebackers in the country. So, it starts with those 6 guys. You could just well throw Ty in there as an outside linebacker, so to speak, and if that group can be successful on Saturday, we'll be in the game. I know that much.
Well, the last thing for you, I always ask you about any crossover with the opposing coach. So I know a lot of people around the FCS were somewhat surprised when Casey Keeler left Delaware to go to Sam Houston. So do you have any crossover with Coach Keeler, or just how would you describe his coaching style, if you have any opinion on it at all?
Well, winning. I think that's the first thing. I think most playoff wins, second active, I think, and career wins. Winning at 2, I would think different programs, different locations for sure, different ways to go about things, whether it was, in the Colonial all those years, are now down in Texas. So hats off to him for, being able to take his, the quality work that he had done at Delaware, and I think winning a championship and playing for 2 more, and then transitioning that down to a program that was doing well under Coach Fritz, obviously, and taking it to a level where they've won a championship. Never crossed paths with them, but certainly have a lot of respect for what he's done at both places, and that's not easy. The hallmark of a really good coach sometimes is if they can do it in 2 places, if they do it at 2 different places, and he's certainly done that.